So what's the answer when you have children that are out of control? Let me first tell you what's not the answer. You defending their behavior. Anytime someone tells you that your child has done something wrong, don't jump on the side of the child immediately. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a difference. And there's a reason for this difference. But there's a difference between a child and an adult. I don't care if the adult is white, black, Latino, German, Jewish. It does not matter. If it is an adult, then that child should respect that adult. You have people that say, well, they're not going to talk to my child any kind of way. Then there's an answer to that. Take your child out of the public institution. Stop allowing your children to go into public establishments and keep your badass kids at home. I use the word ass. You know I don't use profanity. But anyway, keep your children at home and you raise them. And see where you get with that. So, how do you deal with a disorderly child? You can't sit them in front of a television thinking, oh, that's going to solve the problem because they're quiet, out of sight, out of mind kind of mentality. But there are parents that do that. You can't make them go outside and play thinking that that's going to solve a problem because it's a mentality that they have. It's an identity that they have that you have helped to create. So what you going to do about it? The video games, are going to get boring after a while, and then they're going to want to tear something else up in the house, or they're going to cause some more mischief because they feel bored. You have never taught your child values or the proper values. Grand Theft Auto teaches no values. Any video game, for that matter, does not teach you any values. It's entertainment. But at the end of the day, how are you teaching your children to navigate in the real world? How to walk among their fellow men? How to even apply for a job when they become of age? How to deal in a institution of education where they're supposed to be quiet and listen to an instructor or a professor even? How do you do that? How do you deal with a child going out to a restaurant and being quiet, sitting at the table waiting for the food to come, and speaking with respect and dignity to the people that work there? How do you teach a child when they go out to a sporting event how to not be upset when they're a participant just because the other team is higher in a score than his team or her team is? How do you teach a child to lose or learn how to lose and that they can't win all of the time? How do you do that? You must put forth the effort. If you had children when you were a child, you need to seek the advice of an adult, someone who is established, who has a good personality, someone who is a good character reference, if you will. Ask them, how did they raise their children? You would be surprised at how many people would open up their arms to help you with your children or with your development as a person, just in general. It's not that complicated, and there is so much information and so many resources available to us, especially with the internet. If you really truly are sincere about your family situation and how your children's behavior is affecting you and them in a negative way, just reach out. There are resources available. There are people available. Sometimes you know that there's a resource, or you know that there's a person that you can talk to. You just won't. You won't. It's because of pride. It's because you just are lazy about it. And it's because a lot of times you feel like it's not important at the time, and it's not until something bad occurs. Unfortunately, something bad may occur, and then all of a sudden you're trying to reach out. Be proactive, not just simply reactive. And that is one of the downfalls of a lot of people, is that they wait till something happens and then all of a sudden they're in a chaotic situation. Don't ever let it get that or to that point in the first place. So how do you deal with a child like that? I'm going to tell you something really close to me in terms of sentiments that I'm expressing to you now. And I use this example all of the time. Okay? I always say that when you had your child, the child was in your arms. When your child was delivered in the hospital or wherever, you was holding that baby in your arms. And it was helpless. The son or daughter that you bore, the child was helpless. You had to feed it, change it, wash it, and nurture it, all the way up until it started walking, or he or she started walking and then started talking, and you saw the smiles on their faces and them running around and playing and things like this. You saw them take their first step. You saw them say their first words, and so on and so forth. How is it that this child that was in your womb, that relied on you 100% for care, how is it all of a sudden this child turns around and they are challenging you, the parent? How did this ever happen? At some point, you lost control. That's what happened. You lost control. You didn't stay the course. But you must, as painful as it is, or as painful as it might be, you must learn to swallow your pride, sit down, look that child dead in the eyes, and you may have to do this more than once. It's the cost or the price that you have to pay of being a parent, and a responsible parent at that. But you must sit down and look that child in the face and say, listen, whatever their name is, I'm your mom or dad, whatever the case is. You will respect yourself. You will respect me, my home, and other adults, and everyone for that matter. And it starts right now. And if you don't, there will be consequences. Now, I am a firm believer in spanking, depending on the age of the child. I'm not going to spank a 30-year-old child or a 20-year-old child for the most part. But I believe in spanking when your children are young. I believe in some form of timeout, not the traditional concept of timeout, go stand in the corner, what have you, and take a few deep breaths. Not that. I believe in communicating with your children, talking to your children, letting them know what you expect of them, and letting them know and having them repeat it to you as well. If you don't comply with these things that I'm telling you, you don't follow these instructions, let me know what the punishment is that's going to be meted out to you. You repeat it back to me. That way you make them responsible and part of the conversation as well. So what did mommy or daddy tell you not to do? And what did they tell you, or what did we tell you was going to happen if you broke the rule? This is the kind of conversation you need to have with your small child, your preteen, your teenager. Now, if you've missed all of this training in the early part of their development, it's going to be a rough road to toe, because you've let go the wheel at some point in time, and they have already formed their own personality and identity. And actually, they're in their independent mode now. They don't need you except for shelter, food, and clothing, and some money in their pocket. That's all they really want. They're not really respecting you. They're not really listening to you. And it's really, in some sense, too late. But hold on just the same. Encourage yourself. Stand in the window, not the window, but the mirror, and say, I'm going to do this because I made some bad judgments and decisions in rearing my children or my child, and I'm going to correct it today. Whatever it takes, I'm going to do this today. And regardless of how my child feels as a result, it doesn't matter. I'm doing what I should have done all along. That was it for the most part. Your children can't run you. You are their parent. You are responsible for bringing them into this world. They knew zero when they came here. And the information, the first information that they receive should come from you, the parent. Mother and father, hopefully. And then the village. That's the parents, the aunts and uncles, the grandparents, the brothers and sisters that are older, and so on and so forth. All of this information should be disseminated to all the children. And then everybody else in the society is supposed to pick it up. That's the way it's supposed to be. But anyway, be encouraged. Hang in there. Your children are not a lost cause. But you must understand. You must accept personal responsibility. And understand that you really are the reason why your children are the way that they are. And you must put forth a diligent effort to try to correct it. This is Brother Teacher.